Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to a new episode of Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Today we've got a really interesting topic that we're talking about because we're talking all about how to choose your wedding celebrant. And for the purpose of this episode, we're going to be using the words celebrant, solemnizer, and officiant interchangeably. But as you're going to hear from some of our experts, they actually mean different things. But because you've clicked on this episode using the title Celebrant, we're going to use the phrases interchangeably. But in a moment, we're going to hear a little bit about the differences between a solemnizer, a registrar, a celebrant, an officiant. They all mean different things. Some of them are able to do things that others can't. So we'll hear about that in a moment. But let's get started by just saying that your wedding ceremony is a really important piece of the puzzle. Sometimes when you are picturing your wedding, you might be picturing the celebration. You know, maybe you're picturing everybody dancing on the dance floor together, or you're picturing what you're wearing and you're having photos together and you're just celebrating with everyone. And those things are definitely important. But sometimes we forget that actually the biggest part of the wedding is in fact the wedding ceremony. This is where you exchange vows. It's where you make promises to one another. So whether your ceremony is where you're doing the legal bit or not, there's still a lot of symbolism in joining together as one. You're professing your love for one another. You're making promises to each other in front of all your friends and family. And so your wedding ceremony is a really important part of the day. If I had to go back in time, I would have given my wedding ceremony a lot more thought. I'm very happy with what we did at our wedding ceremony. I'm happy with the person who legally married us. I'm happy with the person who, officiated everything on the day. And I'm very happy with how it all turned out. But I remember the night before thinking, I haven't given any thought to our vows. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what we're doing. And if I could go back in time, I would have given it more thought because a wedding ceremony is very important. So unlike me, I would like you to give some thought to what you're doing. And one of the decisions that you're going to make is who is actually going to bring everything together for you on the day. And so I've got 3 guest experts who are joining me today. They are going to help us with some of the language. They're going to help us just understand some different roles that people play in the wedding ceremony and just things that you can keep in mind. But before we get into that, a great way to find any wedding supplier that you need is to use the Weddings Online service finder. It's a great space to look for different categories of supplier. So if you're looking for a wedding celebrant, a solemnizer, and an officiant, to go onto the Weddings Online service finder is a great way to start just to see what your options are. You know, who's in your area. You can start finding out what people cost, all of that sort of thing. The Weddings Online service finder is a great tool, and I will drop a link to that in the notes for this episode. Second place to get, to find out about suppliers is through our Facebook group. It's called Help I'm Getting Married. And there's so many couples, thousands of couples across the country who are planning their weddings. Some of them have already gotten married and they can share recommendations of people that they've worked with who they can highly recommend. So if you don't know where to start, those are 2 good places to begin. But there are so many other things to think about, especially when choosing your wedding celebrant. First thing that you want to think about is, do you want to get legally married on your wedding day? So we didn't, and there are many couples who choose to do the legal bits and all the paperwork and everything prior to the actual wedding day. And then on your wedding day, your ceremony would be what's considered a symbolic ceremony. However, many couples also like to do all the legal bits and the ceremony and everything all in one go on the wedding day. So you need to decide which one is the best option for you. And there are lots of things to consider when it comes to deciding which option you want to go for. But in order to decide who you want to have on your wedding day, you need to know if you're getting married legally then or not, because some people are allowed to legally marry you while others are not. So I spoke with Romy Macaulay and she's unpacked this a little bit for us. You might recognize Romy Macaulay's voice because she joined us on an episode. It was episodes 9 and 10 last year where we spoke all about getting legally married in Ireland. So I'm also going to drop a link to to those 2 episodes because they really go into a lot more detail about getting legally married and things like your green folder and all the legal paperwork. But to answer this question, Romy has unpacked the difference between some of the people that could be involved in your wedding day, who can legally marry you and who cannot. So take a listen to this.
Hello, my name is Romy Macaulay. I'm a registered solemniser here in Ireland, and I'm going to answer a very important question today of what's the difference between a registrar, solemniser, celebrant and officiant. In Ireland, there are 3 official classifications for legal marriage ceremonies, and these are civil, religious or secular. So any legal marriage ceremony must fall into one of these 3 categories. For a civil ceremony, the person who officiates that ceremony is an HSE registrar. The ceremonies can be either in a registry office or in an approved wedding venue. It's very important that if you're looking at a civil ceremony that you look at the differences with what they are, what they can and cannot include, and obviously where they can be held. But civil ceremonies are HSE registrars only. For religious or secular ceremonies, these are conducted by solemnizers. So the solemnizer is the person, again, who does the legal marriage ceremony. They are from all different types of organisations around Ireland. It could be a church-based ceremony, like the Catholic Church. It could be multi-faith or spiritual or pagan, Jewish, Islam, Hindu. There's all the different types of religious organisations that hold wedding ceremonies, and the people who conduct those legal marriage ceremonies are solemnisers. Secular is the same, but as the name implies, it's for secular ceremonies, and there's 2 organisations that officially hold secular ceremonies. So if you're wanting a legal marriage ceremony in Ireland, it's really important that you decide on what type of ceremony you'd like, where you'd like to have the ceremony, and then obviously look into the different types of people that can conduct those legal marriage ceremonies for you. Lots of different options, lots of different things that the ceremonies can and cannot include, and obviously where they can be held. The last term was celebrant or officiant. Now these are general terms that pretty much most people that conduct wedding ceremonies or any type of ceremony would probably call themselves in day-to-day talk. A celebrant or an officiant is a person who's officiating the ceremony. There is another kind of celebrant in Ireland though. It's a non-legal or an independent celebrant. So again, as the name implies, non-legal, it means that they cannot conduct a legal marriage ceremony. Now they do conduct other types of ceremonies, commitments, baby namings, funerals, but if you're wanting a legal marriage ceremony, it must be either a registrar or a solemnizer. And as I said, must fall into the category of either civil, religious or secular. As I always have on my socials, if you have any questions, please DM me. My name is Romy Macaulay.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Romy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the answers that we're getting from these amazing experts, I'm going to put them in writing on the Weddings Online blog so that if you are feeling a little overwhelmed by the options that are available to you and you're getting confused, you can read the options too to help you keep track. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, I'm going to be using some of these terms interchangeably, like solemnizers, celebrants, officiants, even though we've just heard that some can legally marry you and some cannot, but we're going to use them interchangeably just for the purposes of communicating in this episode. So step number 1 was to work out if you want to get legally married on the day, and now you know who can legally marry you and who cannot. The next thing is to decide on the type of ceremony that you want to have. Whether it's legal or not, there are different options available to you. And so Romy has walked us through some of those, and she's given us some great insight into who can perform the legal ceremonies at different points and what those are called. I had a chat with Brenda O'Grady, who's an amazing solemnizer as well. And so she's given us a little bit more information about these types of ceremonies. So there's a little bit of overlap in what Romy and Brenda are sharing, but Brenda also gives us a few more details, and I would love for you to hear what she had to say. So take a listen.
Hi, I'm Reverend Brenda O'Grady, wedding solemnizer and family celebrant. You lucky couples who are planning your wedding have such a great choice of wedding ceremonies available to you in Ireland. You can opt for a civil ceremony, which is held by a civil registrar in their office or in a venue approved by the registrar. A traditional religious ceremony, usually held in a place of worship, such as a church, or a celebrant solemnizer-led ceremony, which can be interactive with your guests and can include ceremony enhancements which can be personalised, such as the Sand Unity hand fasting ceremony. A solemnizer is licensed by the state to conduct legal weddings. Celebrant solemnizer-led ceremonies include an interfaith ceremony, which is the option for couples of all faith or none who want to be legally married regardless as to their beliefs or orientation. Interfaith ceremonies can be as humanist, spiritual, secular, or atheist as you choose and may include language, music, readings of your choice. A humanist ceremony, which is a completely secular, 100% non-religious with no hymns, prayers or Bible readings, mentions of God or the afterlife, or a spiritual ceremony which is non-denominational and in which couples invite those from the spirit world to be present with them to share their special day. Or you can opt for a celebrant-led ceremony where your ceremony is not a legal ceremony. If you want any further information, you will find it in my blog at www.weddingsandfamilycelebrant.ie. Best of luck with your planning.
Thank you very much, Brenda. So, as Brenda said, there are different ceremony types available to you, and some of which include options to customize a ceremony, add personal elements, special readings and traditions, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. But as Brenda said, she's actually got some information on her blog, and I'm going to share a link to a blog post that she's written. So if you are looking at the notes to this podcast episode, or if you are looking at the blog post on the Weddings Online website, I'm going to share a direct link to Brenda O'Grady's blog post where she unpacks a little bit more about the different ceremony types. So you can have a look at that and you can get everything in writing as well. So we've already said step number 1 is work out if you want to get legally married on the day. Step number 2, decide on the type of ceremony that you want to have. And step number 3, once you've put some of those things together and you have some possible celebrants or solemnizers or officiants ready to go, you actually want to meet them in person. It's a great way to see if you connect with somebody. It's a good way to understand if they can fulfill, the purposes of your ceremony that you want them to. Can they personalize the ceremony in the way that you are expecting them to? And are there any questions that you should be asking them to work out if this is the right person for you or not? I had a chat with Fergal Curtis and I said to him, if a couple is meeting with a celebrant for the first time, what questions should they ask so that they can really understand if this is the right person and if they're getting the type of ceremony that they would like to have? And this is what he had to say.
Hi, my name is Fergal Curtis and I'm a celebrant and a solemnizer, and I'm delighted to be featured on the Weddings Online podcast. Thank you so much for having me. So when meeting a potential wedding celebrant or solemnizer for the first time, what questions should you ask? So this person is going to be with you at one of the most intimate and special moments of your day. So you want to know that they align with you, that they're going to make you feel safe, that they're going to make you feel comfortable, supported, happy in that moment. So when asking them questions, ask them questions that will help you figure out whether you feel safe and happy and comfortable with this person. An idea of a question you could ask is if you have any specific rituals that you want performed at your wedding. Ask them what they think of these rituals. Ask them their experience in performing these rituals, whether they have any ideas to make these rituals even more personal. And if you don't have any rituals that you specifically want performed, ask them what rituals do they like to perform. And I think that this question can really get a conversation going and a rapport going to help create the day that you want, but also to let you know whether this person is the person you want to be standing up there with you and your partner. So I hope that helps, and thank you so much.
So helpful. Thank you very much to Fergal Curtis for that. Really appreciate just understanding some ways that you can work out if this possible celebrant is the right one for you. So best of luck to all the couples out there who are looking to find the perfect person to come in on the day and make the ceremony the most special ceremony there can possibly be. Huge thank you to Romy Macaulay, Brenda O'Grady and Fergal Curtis for joining us today. If you would like to chat with any of those three amazing experts, I'm going to drop a link to how you can get in touch with them in the notes to this episode, and it will also be on the Weddings Online blog. Every podcast episode that we do also comes with a written episode breakdown that you can find on the blog, and I'll share all the links that I've mentioned to different blog posts and places that you can find suppliers, and you can get recommendations from our Facebook community. I'll put all of that on Weddings Online as well. But thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.